here to discuss city news and answer your questions. We are joined, as we are each month, by Jacksonville Mayor Donna Deegan. Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning, Ann. I can't believe it's been a month since we sat together. It seems
Same.
like it was yesterday.
Time is flying.
Not that I don't miss you when I'm gone,
Well,
but
I appreciate that. And it's great to have you back, but it does seem like it was just a couple days ago.
it does.
Anyway, I do want to start. There's a meeting tonight discussing local initiatives to bring a Doge type program or analysis to Jacksonville. This is being proposed by Councilmember Ron Salem. He's going to have a discussion tonight. He's calling it Duval Doge. Tell us kind of what your take is on that.
Well, look, I will say that we've been focused on efficiency since I came to City Hall. That's why we revamped the permitting process to try to save people's time and money. That's why we instituted the Lean program, which is a business program that helps you to lean down government while at the same time, or lean down your processes while at the same time making sure that you're not cutting people's quality of life. And I think that would be my biggest question is, I'm sure it's always great to look at efficiencies. So I'd say, after 5 years on the council, welcome to the party. I'm happy to have him, taking a look. But at the end of the day, what I would say is, let's make sure that if we're going to go through what to me, frankly, appears more performative than practical, since we're already doing a lot of things to be efficient in government, that we don't do it like a chainsaw, the things that we're seeing in the federal government right now. The cuts seem to be, frankly, not well thought out all the time. In fact, we talked last time about the Charles Bennett building and about the National Guard, or what was it? There was another group, the Army Corps. That's what those two.
Yeah.
They were both cut. They were both immediately put back.
Right.
So it's one of those things where you sort of throw people into a chaotic situation, and we're glad they're back, and we'll help anybody who's displaced try to find a place. And all I'm saying is, I would hope that if we're going to take a look at doing something like this locally, even though, as I said, I don't think it's necessary to do more than what we are doing. I would just hope that we would be very intentional about that. We have really gone a long way toward trying to make sure that we have put more money into processes that need it, like mowing and landscaping, and people have really noticed that, and it's created a lot of pride in our communities. And we've created, more efficiencies in other departments, like our permitting department. So there are ways to give and take those things, but you can't just take some across the board, SWAT at something and say that you're being efficient, because if you're hurting people's quality of life, and you're sort of getting in your own way, it's sort of what we've done in the past that's sort of kept us. I always say the one step forward and two steps back. We don't want to do that. So I'm very interested to see what comes out of this, but I frankly don't know that I really understand what we're doing here.
Well, the Doge branding is maybe, a difficult thing at this point. There does seem to be some very divergent interpretations of kind of how that's going. Initially, Councilmember Salem said that, he wasn't sure that without some job loss, whether there would be, possible to tighten the belt. I think he said, asked if jobs would be lost. He said it's hard not to. I think he told Channel 4. But he later said he didn't think necessarily personnel would have to be cut. But he is pointing to the very serious possibility of significant deficits in the city's budget.
Well, listen, that's why we've been looking at these things. In fact, we asked every one of our city departments to go through an exercise where we said, we're not asking you for cuts right now. What we're asking you to do is go through your budget, and if you absolutely had to cut 10%, which is a lot, so we're not talking about doing that, but just find out what would be the things that you would go to. What are your greatest inefficiencies, or what are the places where you could dial back if you absolutely had to? And then there's also the matter of if folks retire or leave, as happens all the time in city government, do you fill those positions? And there will be some that need to be filled and some that perhaps don't need to be filled. But at the end of the day, I'll go back and say, it's incredibly important that you're intentional about those things, or you end up hurting more than you're helping. And I think there are absolutely ways to get there. I think the lean process is the best way to get there. And I want to make sure that we're not doing anything that's going to hurt the quality of life for our citizens.
I want to take a call from Philip on the west side. Good morning, Philip. Go ahead.
Good morning, ladies. Those has certainly given March Madness a new meaning. My question to the mayor is I've been a resident since 1988, and the Edison Avenue between McDuff and Stockton is in badly need of repaving.
Okay.
I have never seen a mayor address this issue, and I'm asking you on your way back to the office if you could please drive down Edison Avenue and see exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay. So, did you by any chance attend any of our town halls where people were asking for various things to be included in the budget?
I did not.
Okay, I'm just curious because we've had a lot of people give us a list. So I would like I'm going to try to get that down and make sure that I go ask about it. Normally the paving projects happen on a basis where they go out and they analyze the roads and they say which are the worst ones, which are in the greatest need of repaving at the moment. And that's generally how it's done. But I have taken a list from people who have given me roads that they're particularly concerned about, and we've gone back and taken a look at that. So I'm happy to go back and talk to Nina Sickler in our Public Works Department and find out what the status is of that and why perhaps it hasn't been addressed. But I am very open to that, and that's really the process that we're going through in these town halls right now. We're going to be at First Coast High School tonight, and then we'll have another town hall after that in Arlington.
And you can go even if you're not from that
You
direct
can. So I was
neighborhood.
going to say, if even if you're not from that particular neighborhood and you have issues, because what happens is when you go to one of those town halls, the reason I brought that up is that we ask everybody to put their issues on a comment card, especially if they're issues we can't address right there. Like we can't say right at this moment, okay, I can go do that for you right this second. What I can do is go look at it. But then we have your name and we have your contact information and we have a way to follow up with you and figure out where we go next. So I would highly encourage you if you can to go to one of those two town halls. But in the meantime, I will make sure I take that particular road back and ask Nina about it.
We're talking to Jacksonville Mayor Donna Deegan. We are taking your calls and questions. You can reach us at 904-549-2937 or email firstcoastconnect@wjct.org. We have a call from Mike on the South Side. Good morning, Mike. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for taking my call.
Hi, Mike.
I wanted to applaud Mayor Deegan. Yep, are you there?
I'm
Can you
there.
hear
How are
me?
you, Mike? Can
Oh,
you-
hey, I'm doing fine. Thank you. I was calling. I wanted to applaud you for the pledge at the recent Martin Luther King breakfast to move up key infrastructure projects in districts 1, 7, 8, 9, and 10 to the front of the line. And wanted to echo the call from the Northside Coalition for a fulfilled promise transparency dashboard. I know you have several of those,
Yep.
but we're often hearing about the broken promises of
Yes, sir.
consolidation, but there's no way we can track to know whether we're getting there or not.
I think that's a
Obviously, there's a
fabulous
lot of
idea.
areas
I
that
think that's a great idea. We're adding to those transparency dashboards every day. But it is a key for me to make sure that we are actually tracking progress on that front. So I think that's a great idea if we're not already on it, and we may be because I know we've discussed that. But I do think it's a great thing for people to be able to follow, and I appreciate you bringing that up because I do. It's so hard, for people who have been waiting for so long for so many things, and are always pushed to the back of the line, right? In those districts especially. And I want to be very intentional about making sure that people know exactly what we're doing there. What is being accomplished? Where are we getting the septic tanks out of the ground? Where are we creating those infrastructure projects? And we are very much focusing on those areas that have been long neglected. And frankly, there are also areas that are very high risk when it comes to things like sea level rise very often. So I appreciate that, and I'll take that back.
I want to ask you in terms of communicating, you urge people to go to these town halls. You've been available at those. But there was a discussion recently between your chief of staff and the city council about how the council is communicating with its constituents. As part of a process, I think that you're trying to put into place to make sure that requests are formalized and that they're going through a tracking
Yes.
means,
Yes.
so urging council members to put those concerns as a constituent would into the 630 city or the city database for for
Well,
requests.
that's part of the transparency piece, right? But also making sure that we can track them and make sure they're getting done.
Right.
I think that's the issue is there's so many nobody wants to hear we're working on it. They want to know where it is. They want to know, how the process is going. They want to know that their concern is being addressed. And if we don't have it documented in 630 City, that's very, very hard to do.
One of the concerns, though, that came out of that meeting that I thought was a bit of a red flag was Councilmember Rockman Johnson saying the problem is that those complaints aren't being resolved. He said that,
Well, that's not true. That's not true. That 630 City complaints aren't being resolved.
that's what he
They're
said.
being resolved as quickly as they can possibly be resolved. Sometimes it's not something that can be resolved overnight. But again, if you take a look at the revamps that we've done to 630 City and frankly are continuing to do, that process is getting better.
I mean,
So
just to be clear, what he said is there have been myriad occasions where I'll put the information and they'll close the ticket, or I'll put in the information and nothing happens. That
well
was what he said.
so here's where I think, and we talked about this at the last town hall that we had. Sometimes you have more than one ticket that says the same thing. And so what will happen is if it's being addressed on ticket A, you don't want it then to show up again on ticket B. So they'll consolidate and make sure there's one ticket for an issue. Does that make sense?
But perhaps they would need to notify the person that made the complaint so
Well,
that
that
they
makes sense. And
have.
I don't know why that wouldn't happen, but that's that's certainly something I can speak with Richard Reichert about. But we really tried our very best. Bureaucracy is a real, thing. And we have really, really tried to streamline those processes and make sure that you're not spending twice as much time just trying to get out of your own way to get to a topic or to get to a ticket. Um, you know, and I think that's really what you're seeing here. So I would say that certainly it's not a perfect system yet, but it is so much better than it was, and we are continuing to make it more efficient.
We've got a call from Eugene on the north side. Good morning, Eugene. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning to the mayor and the radio staff.
Morning.
Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay. I just want to congratulate you on your tenure so far. You're doing well.
Thank you.
Keep your vision, do what you've been elected to do. And lastly, and you could comment on it I'll take your comments off the air, but I wanted to applaud you on going through with the MLK parade. I think at this time that we're in, it was desperately needed. And we had previous administration that vowed to see it through because of weather conditions and didn't. And I applaud you for that. Have a great day.
Well, that's kind. I appreciate that. I regret that we ended up having to postpone it, but of course we were always going to have it. And I agree. I think it's very important. Um, I think there are a lot of people that are very concerned right now about whether those things are even going to continue. And certainly it's a priority for me to make sure that
You mean
we
like
do.
civil rights achievements?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. So I do think it's very important here in Jacksonville. As I always say, we have one of the most diverse populations in the country. We are a mirror, absolute mirror of the country, and we have to make sure that our very diverse population certainly knows that we value every single one of them, and certainly civil rights accomplishments are something we should continue to celebrate.
That obviously dovetails with a headline that we've all been following, which is a effort by a couple of local lawmakers based here on the First Coast that would limit or greatly restrain a local government's ability to have any sort of inclusive or diverse initiatives at the local level. That's Representative Dean Black of Yulee, Senator Clay Yarborough of Jacksonville, both Republican lawmakers. This is sort of a anti-DEI at the local level. How would that impact you as a mayor? How would that impact things in our city, like the human rights ordinance or the protection of people with disabilities?
You know what, Ann? I don't know. I'm frankly, disconcerted we're still having this conversation. If the letters DEI scare people, hopefully we can still talk about people's humanity and that we need to respect that. I certainly don't understand the need for this legislation. I understand once again he's trying to make it retroactive So it's one of those things
This
where
is Dean Black.
yeah, it's one of the things I don't even know at this point whether that is legislation that is constitutional. But I wish we could really spend some more time truly trying to solve the problems of our community and our state. Uh, and try to I remember having conversations with him in the past where he said to me that he felt polarization worked to achieve the goals that he wanted to achieve. I just don't think that polarization ever helps. I think we have got to try to find a way to see each other and to speak to each other and to respect each other as much as we may have a difficult time seeing where we're all coming from. But efforts like this, I think, are largely performative. It's not to say it won't get passed, but I think we're seeing so much right now that just seems an effort to be performative, to continue to drive those wedges where they don't need to be driven. And I really frankly hate to see it. But we'll follow it and see where it goes. And I think everybody knows where I am on these things. I am a pragmatic problem solver. That's how I came into this office. That's how I continue to look at things. Um, I'm never going to say it's okay to try to make any group feel alienated or lesser than. And I am always going to be that voice for people who have historically not had a voice. So I don't understand why we spend so much time on this when there are so many things. People in all of our town halls, people talk to me every day about not only are there streets, we want our streets fixed, we want our sidewalks fixed, we want more affordable housing, we need to fix our insurance issues. Why are we not talking about those things more and these polarizing things less, unless that's just what the aim is?
What are you hearing most about at these town hall meetings? Is it roads? Is it infrastructure?
Yes, it always is.
Okay.
It is always, I need a sidewalk here. My road has too many potholes. People are speeding down my road. We need more law enforcement out there. I mean, it is. I could blueprint just about every single one of these, and there's always an issue or two that come up in different communities. Some communities are more keyed into the homelessness situation than others, but affordable housing always comes up. I mean, they are the same. The infrastructure needs, which really in local government is what we do more than anything else. you know, that's what people care the most about. They really do. And so we need to be mindful of that as we continue to try to sometimes emulate these big cultural fights that we tend to have at the state and national level. On the local level, our job is really customer service, and we need to remember that.
We've got a call from AJ in Arlington. AJ, go ahead.
Hey, Mayor.
Good morning.
Hey, Ann. This is AJ with Mad Dads. How y'all doing?
Doing
morning.
good, AJ.
Good. And my question is, I know the committee just was formed for the revamp of the Jacksonville journey. I just want to know, Mayor, if you could just give us a little update on that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm really excited. We finally, excuse my voice. We finally got our first meeting underway on that, and I'm really excited about that. Charles Griggs is doing such a great job in terms of what we're doing there. We are.
Was he part of the original journey?
Yeah, he worked on the original journey, and of course, W.C. Gentry is one of the people that we've placed on the board that also worked on the original journey. This is a promise I made on the campaign trail, and it's been really a top priority for us to get this going. So it's geared toward looking at the root causes of why, especially young people, get into a bad situation. So we're trying to create pathways that focus on prevention and intervention, making sure that kids have a better path so that they don't end up dealing with law enforcement later in life. And so we had our first meeting, and I know we're all very excited. It seems like it's been forever, but we are working very hard with this 11-member board that really will reflect not only the many different diverse voices in our community, but they bring so much, a wealth of information. Some have been involved before, some have just been involved in efforts to try to create a better path. But we're excited to go forward because we want to be a good partner to our public safety partners, the sheriff's office, and of course the fire department. We want to be a good partner and make it so that they're dealing with less young people, especially as we go down the line.
I was on the Journey Forward website, and one of the bullet points is looking at diversion programs. Specifically kind of alternate punishments or ways for kids who might otherwise be tracked into the criminal justice system to avoid that. But the sheriff's office and law enforcement generally is pretty well represented on this 11-member board.
Mhm.
Is there a sense that there is more acceptance of those kinds of diversionary program for young people, especially if they're sort of early, into maybe gang affiliation? Is the sheriff's office, is law enforcement receptive, do you think, to those diversion programs?
Well, I know that the sheriff's office is heavily involved in this, and they are they very much want to make sure that we continue with the message that they are the public safety agent in all of this, and we are the agent that really helps kids find a better path or others find a better path. I think they are open to diversionary programs in certain cases, and I know they're very focused on gang activity. But I know that there continues to be some question in terms of how far does that go.
Mhm.
But I do think they are open to those things.
Since we're talking law enforcement, I want to ask you about jail proposals, because now the city appears to be moving forward with hiring someone to look at potential sites and maybe evaluate potential for a public private partnership to build this facility. Obviously, everything's still on the table, but location is going to be the huge concern, I think, as this moves forward. Do
Oh
you
gosh, I think so many things are the huge concern, but I mean that's why we have to be we have to go through this process really line by line and make sure we're doing the best things. Location's going to be very important, but there's a bunch of different things to consider. If you really want to have your jail and your mental health facility and perhaps not too far away your juvenile facility and those sort of things on the same sort of, if you want to use the term campus, then you're probably looking at something that is a little further out, right? But I think the sheriff also has some concerns about wanting to make sure it's not too far away from where the police department is. So there are there are all sorts of ways to look at this and all sorts of ways to do it in terms of how you could create a scenario where either one could work. Sheriff's going to obviously be very involved in that, but we are right now in the process of really starting to talk with people about that.
Or is there any guidance, though, that you would be giving, an agency if they're gonna start looking at possible sites? Any, like, go, no-go for you that you
No.
would tell them?
No, not at this point. Well, what we really are going to be looking to is people who have done this and had been successful at having done it, to tell us, what are the pitfalls? You may think this is a good idea, but this might happen, or we did this way over here, and this actually worked better. You know what I'm saying? People that have actually done this in places before that can tell us, sort of analyze the entire thing for us, everything from cost to location to possible pitfalls to efficiencies, all of that, and that's all part of this process. And we're hoping over the next few months to get through a lot of that.
I'm curious, I always think of the landing as sort of a question as to what could happen. For instance, if instead of spending, $25 million to tear down and prepare a site, if that money had just been invested into revitalizing a site. If you were gonna take $1 billion, is there any cost analysis that's been done to say this jail couldn't simply be improved? We already own it. It's there. We could just take that $1 billion instead of trying to find a new site and reinvent the wheel.
Well, look, Ann, I think there are, as I've said, there are various ways to do this. You can build it yourself. You can have a situation where you have somebody come in and build it, and you lease the jail from them, which is an attractive idea because then we're not investing $1 billion in this process. But at the end of the day, I think you have to evaluate all that. As far as this site is concerned, I think you know very well that economic development wise, we would love to see that site open up for things that we as we continue to see downtown thrive. More and more every day. You see all the cranes in the air. We've started that I Dig Jack's website so that people can keep track of all the different projects. But we're hoping eventually that site is going to be something frankly that would create more of a draw for people downtown than to have the jail there. So I think that jail has really outlived its usefulness, both in terms of the facility itself, but also in terms of the location. I think we given our vision for downtown, I don't think we want that jail there.
The vision for downtown, obviously, there's a lot of effort to broadcast what is happening downtown, things that are being built, projects that are underway. And at the same time, there's this sort of erosion that seems to be happening when you look at things like the federal initiatives on the Doge front, where we've been talking about potentially losing, a big chunk
Well,
of the.
remember, those were put back. They were put back.
Well, and then the website was removed altogether.
Right.
So,
But what I'm saying is, we can't react to something
no, I mean, but the uncertainty alone, I
well,
would think,
sure.
is a difficult thing to just kind of address.
Well, look, that's going to be the case for a little while. But at the end of the day, we are continuing to try to do our best to recruit people to downtown. And we're actually talking to some more folks this week that are interested in coming downtown. And we will try to find places for people who are displaced. But at the end of the day, you know, again, and I think we said this the last time we met. There's a lot of dust out there, and we got to wait for the dust to settle, right? I mean, I think the last time we spoke, it looked like we were going to lose both of those facilities, and now they're back. So I
But there are other things like the citizens property
right.
insurance announcement that they're planning, or they appear likely to move out of downtown. That's maybe 1,000 workers.
That's true.
From a
Obviously, it doesn't look like they're planning to leave Jacksonville, so we'll continue to have those workers in Jacksonville. But my hope is that when you actually are looking at a cost analysis there, my hope is that the board may take a closer look at that and perhaps come to a different conclusion. But we have tried to give every assurance that, because what we keep hearing is the concern is safety. That's what we keep hearing. We have spoken with the sheriff, and the two of us have committed to putting a stop station in there. We'd have to prepare the place. The sheriff could then come in and create a stop station. Um, uh, JFRD is going to have a presence in that building if the citizens folks decide to stay. So
You're talking about the Everbank
yeah,
building?
so there will be more security around that building. But since day one, we have offered to create whatever security they feel like, and frankly, our PATH team has already been incredibly successful down there. The PATH team for JFRD that is actually trying to steer our homeless population toward the services
Mm.
and housing that we can get them into, so they're not on the streets. So we continue to be hopeful that the board may look at those things, but. Look, at the end of the day, these folks are still very likely to be in Jacksonville. They just won't be downtown. And we have people, frankly, every single day that are talking to us about coming downtown. So there may be some more things to say about that soon. But I would simply say that, in a few years, given what we're doing down here, it's going to be tough to get down here. Without paying a whole lot more money than you're paying now.
Mm.
So I think most people are looking at and seeing the handwriting on the wall in terms of what we're doing down here. And I would hope that citizens would take a closer look at that, but we'll see.
Got a call from Dan on the west side. Good morning, Dan. Go ahead.
Yes, morning.
Morning.
And morning, Madam Mayor. My call is concerning the jail because I do believe it should be moved, as riverfront property is just not the smartest place to put a jail, in my opinion.
I
There's
agree.
so much money that could be made from that area. And having been a one-time resident of the jail, I can affirm it is not a nice place to be inside. It eerily resembles school, and it shouldn't resemble school, or school shouldn't resemble jail. And there's plenty of empty West Side land to put a jail. Like, people don't need to be displaced. Neighborhoods don't need to be torn down for it. There's plenty of empty land for it. And as far as the $1 billion cost, just raise our taxes and put another $1 billion towards the community and just offset that.
Well, you're the first person that has ever said that to me, I've got to tell you. But I listen, I've been inside that jail too, and for me, it doesn't remind me of a school. It's oppressive, and I think
It's not a great space.
but it also is health issues in there. I mean, there are problems with that building. So it is
What,
important.
like mold or
I mean,
asbestos? Or
I don't know about asbestos, but I do think the building is old, and it has some issues in terms of its constitution. So I just think we have to worry about that. Those are all things that nobody wants people to be treated in an inhumane way, even if they're in jail. I don't think, at least most people don't. And so I just think it's important that we graduate to a new facility, and hopefully, we as a city spend the money to take better care of it than we did with this last facility.
I mean, despite what Dan says, and he is calling from the west side, I can well remember earlier discussions about Cecil Field and whether there should be a prison there. There was not a lot of happy West Siders with that proposal when that first was raised.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody loves the idea of being near a jail
Well,
facility.
that's the thing about having to lead. Eventually you can't make everybody happy about every single decision, but you have to do whatever decision is best for the entire community, and I think that's what we'll continue to focus on.
Got a call from Tango on the south side. Good morning, Tango. Go ahead.
Hi, Tango.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Good morning, Madam Mayor. It's been a minute since we talked. How
It
you
has.
feeling?
I'm doing well. How are you, Tango?
I'm doing great. I wanted to call. You were talking about downtown, and I saw on the website recently that we have the Think Bold Festival happening downtown, and it was supposed to be an opportunity to meet community leaders. And I just wanted to hear, what you thought about that and your feelings about Think Bold, and whether we can do more initiatives like that in downtown in order to revitalize the area. And that was my question for you. And it's good to talk to you again.
It's good to talk to you too, Tango. Listen, I am always for more initiatives downtown, as you know, and I do want to bring more people into those. As far as Think Bold goes, I wasn't personally involved in that. I don't know if you made a request for me. You said people wanted to meet city leaders. I was not. I don't think I was invited to Think Bold, or if I was, I'm not aware that I was. Are you still there, or have you gone?
No, he's still here. Go ahead, Tango.
Yeah, I'm still here. No, I didn't know. They have a picture of a letter from you that's on the website. If
Yeah.
you go to thinkboldfest.com.
But I don't think I
That-
don't
and
think
that's
I
what
was
I was
I don't
refer-
think I was invited to go.
Well, that's a terrible mistake.
If I
So,
no, you know what? Maybe I was, but if I was, it never made it on my calendar. Let me just say that. But no, I listen. Obviously, I support initiatives like that, and I do think they're important. So I would love to be more involved.
Got a call from Douglas in Mandarin. Good morning, Douglas. Go ahead.
Good morning. Yeah, I've emailed and called the mayor's office a few times. We have a street in Mandarin called Cordial Drive, and it's owned by the city from tax default, and the city won't take care of it or anything. It's got huge potholes in it. It floods when it rains. It's just unpassable in storms. And I just have never gotten a response. And I called the day after you got elected.
Looks like
Can you? Well, there's processes. I'm afraid things if they don't get filed in the right places probably don't always make it all the way up. So Cordial is Cordial, Cordial,
Yep.
and
Yep.
and it's in Mandarin.
Yep,
Looks
32258.
just sort of south of Greenland Road, it looks like.
Okay. Okay. I will check that one out. Okay. I'll check that out today with Nina Sickler when I get back to the office.
All right. Um, just finally, Mayor Don Deegan, I know that you have been moving your bookmobile around in this Readers Initiative. Is there anything on deck scheduled for the next one?
Oh gosh, we have a bunch. I know that we have one that's scheduled in Arlington coming up, but I can't remember the date at the moment.
Those have been fairly successful.
Yeah, we have all that on the website. But yes, oh gosh, they've been so successful. The one that we had in Highlands was amazing. We had so many kids show up for that, and we just had one at River City Science Academy. Where I did a reading session with the kids, and then we had them come in and choose a book. And it's just so fun to watch kids light up about reading. We're having a lot of success with that. As you know, we're at about 3 million minutes read in that program. But now the project is to, at least at the moment, to get that bookmobile around to every area of town and get more kids engaged in reading.
Mayor Donna Deegan, it's always great to talk to you. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Ann. Great to see you.
All right.